Hi, Darren. Very happy to be back on Near FM.
Alright, cool. John, I read the article on Dublin People's social media a couple of days ago that was written by Mike Finnerty, and Mike quoted yourself. The issue covered in the article is the parking charges that the new owners of the Blanchardstown Shopping Centre are going to bring in, and I know that you've been active on this issue ever since the plan charges were known. John, Dublin West is not in the catchment area of Near FM, so can you start off please by telling our listeners what you know of this issue ever since you were first made aware of the plan charges?
Yeah, that's no problem, Darren. So the new owners of the Blanchardstown Centre are an international investment fund called SVP Capital, and they brought forward a plan towards the end of last year to introduce parking charges at the Blanchardstown Centre. Now, I suppose it's worth saying for your listeners that the Blanchardstown Centre is not simply, of course, it's a major retail centre, but in many ways it's at the heart of the community of Dublin 15. It's not simply a shopping centre. It has really important public services located all around it. I'm actually sitting here in Driocht, the Public and Community Theatre. There's the Fingal Council offices. There's the Blanchardstown Library, the courthouse, and actually less well known, but also the HSE services and the breast check service, which is very important for women's health in relation to cancer. So there's a multitude of vital public services in the Blanchardstown Centre, and imposing parking charges, particularly without any proper consultation or any notice to businesses, to workers, or to the local community, is fundamentally wrong. It restricts access for people to the public services at the centre, and that's particularly true of people from lower income backgrounds, or older people, or people who need to use the health services. So that's grossly unfair to people living locally who have supported the Blanchardstown Centre for many years, helped to make it such a huge commercial success, and now find that really thrown back in their faces. And then there's also, so the unfortunately Fingal Council granted permission for the parking charges. So I submitted an appeal to An Bord Pleanála. So did Luke Daly and Luke Daly, a local resident in Cllr, and Ruth Coppinger TD. That then allowed the local community to submit observations in our appeal. So it created a window for people to be consulted. And we also set up a petition to really to give people a chance to be heard about the impact of the charges at the centre. And we were just overwhelmed by the response to the petition. So far more than 10,700 people have signed the petition. That's close to 10% of the population of Dublin 15, which, as you know, is a very well populated area. So really the response to both the consultation and the petition is an overwhelming rejection by the local community and by workers at the centre of the plan for parking charges.
Yeah, that's a lot of signatures, and as you mentioned there, all those public services, they are very important public services. And John, is it going to be the same as, I think it's in Dundrum, where or the Square, I'm not sure which, but that workers in the centre will have to pay parking too?
Well, at the moment, there's no clarity about that, Darren. So there's no clarity about either what the scale of the charges would be, whether there'd be any exemptions, or whether they'd offer any concessions to workers. The only very kind of trivial concessions they put forward was after a group of the community campaign, there's a strong community campaign on it, which held a number of protests at the centre. And on the night before one of those protests, the owners of the centre wrote out to local businesses to say that they would offer a 90-day concession to workers. So that was, it seems to be a one-off 90-day concession, which is really fairly pathetic, to be honest with you. And that was the only concession so far offered to workers. Now we don't know, maybe like some people I think are hoping that the owners will be more flexible when if the charges are approved. But I think that's a hell of a risk to take. It's particularly unfair that workers should have to pay parking charges to go to work. A lot of the workers here at the centre would work in restaurants or catering outlets where they'd be minimum wage jobs or not very well paid jobs. So parking charges over the space of a year would really cut into their income. The argument I've been making since the start is really these charges are an unfair tax on workers, local communities, and businesses at the centre, and it's simply scandalous that the owners are bringing forward charges like this at the height of an affordability crisis. It's absolutely tone deaf to the severe pressures people are under in their daily lives.
I know yourself, John, and the Labour Party in general in Dublin West have been very active on this issue since it came to light. But how would you rate the other parties in Dublin West kind of work on this?
Well, I suppose, the Labour Party has taken a very active role in this. The petition was set up by Luke Daly. Luke is a local resident and Labour Party member, and both Mary McCamley and I have raised it with the council. I've made an appeal. I've made the appeal to Uncommissioned Planola, and we also presented the petition. We presented the petition 2 weeks ago at the Blanchardstown Centre to the managers, and that was attended by local residents and some workers from the centre. But the Labour Party were very heavily involved in that, and we felt an obligation to do that to represent the concerns, the legitimate concerns that local communities have. In relation to other political parties, listen, I wouldn't kind of speculate on other political parties' views on it. I know, like some parties, certainly, like obviously Deputy Coppinger has made an appeal. Other politicians I know have made submissions. So, like, really, I think we need to develop a cross-party front, cross-party cooperation in working with the workers, the businesses, and local communities to get this rejected.
Okay, from an environmental or lack of environmental point of view, John, a lot of trees are going to be cut down around the shopping centre because of this, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right, Darren. That's one, for me, that's one of the worst features of the plan. The plan involves the destruction of 349 trees. So it'll make the centre a greenery-free zone. It'll remove almost all of the greenery at the centre. It's not easy sometimes providing for a green infrastructure or like trees and planting at a centre, but the previous owners haven't done, had some concern to do that. But the original owners had some concern to do that. So really, it's complete environmental vandalism. With the destruction of that level of trees, there's no way, despite claims in the planning application that they'll be able to replant or replace those trees, there's absolutely no way that those trees, that the scale of the destruction of those trees could be remedied by replanting. That's just not going to happen. I think that's one of the worst features of the plan. And it's really backward and regressive, kind of going back to the 1970s and 80s when businesses had no concern for the local environment. So it's incredibly disappointing that the owners of the centre have taken such an environmentally damaging approach.
Okay, John, you said that the owners of the centre haven't revealed how much they plan to charge people, but what are the owners' line of argument on the whole issue, John?
Well, it's actually very hard to know that, Darren, because the owners, they've really operated in a faceless way. They've no interest in engaging with the community campaign. I mean, we submitted the petition. We did succeed in getting a member of the management of the centre to come down and take the petition, but that was, to be honest, because partly because we were, partly because we had someone they were advised to do that by the Gardaí, and it's simply it's simply unacceptable that a petition of more than 10,000 signatures is presented. There's a really strong expression of opinion from the local community, and that the biggest retail and civic hub in Dublin 15, the owners of that, simply are showing a total disregard for local public opinion.
John, who are the owners? Like, are they Irish, are they American, or what's the story?
No, no. The owners are an international investment company. They're called SVP Capital. They're based in the United States, so they're very remote from local concerns. Now they claim to be concerned about expanding the centre or improving the offering given by the centre. But in fact, people locally are very satisfied with the Blanchardstown Centre, and they're satisfied with the kind of there's a good range of retail outlets there. And there's a real danger that the businesses in the centre will be the big losers from this from the parking charges. I mean, there's a lot of Irish-based businesses here. There's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of smaller businesses whose bottom line will be very badly affected if footfall collapses when parking charges are introduced. And there's no doubt at all that footfall in the centre will be affected because I mean the free parking has been one of the major draws to the centre, and it's been part of the centre's business model for a long time. So in reality, like the original owners of the centre, took the view that they would never impose parking charges because the free parking model worked for them commercially, and that was a very sensible commercial decision. Whereas this is a kind of short-sighted, damaging decision that is very damaging to local business.